Our garage wasn't just a place to park the car, it had quietly become a critical part of our daily routine. After my brother moved in with us following a serious illness, we adapted everything to make life a little easier for him. Some of his medical support equipment needed stable power and a controlled space, and the garage, cooler, quieter, and easier to access, was the best place to set it up safely. Everything was done properly, within limits, checked and approved. To us, it meant stability. To Karen, it meant overuse. She had recently taken it upon herself to monitor energy usage in the neighborhood, sending out messages about shared resources and fair consumption. At first, I ignored it. We weren't doing anything wrong. But Karen didn't see it that way. She sent warnings, then complaints, insisting our garage power usage was excessive and unapproved. I explained calmly, more than once, that the usage was necessary and within allowed limits. But Karen wasn't interested in explanations. She was interested in control. One evening I walked out to the garage and something felt off immediately. The usual low hum of equipment was gone. The lights were out. Silence. That kind of silence that makes your stomach drop. I rushed inside, checking everything quickly, switching to backup support while calling for assistance. Thankfully, we had a backup system, but it wasn't meant for long-term use. Every second mattered. Once things were stable, I stepped back, trying to understand what had happened. That's when I noticed the breaker panel tampered with. Not tripped. Switched off, deliberately, and suddenly the pieces came together. Karen had access to a shared control area through the HOA, and she had been complaining about our usage for days. What she didn't know, what she didn't even think to consider, was what that power was actually supporting. We didn't confront her directly. We documented everything. The timing, the panel status, the impact. And then we reported it through the proper channels. Because this wasn't about a disagreement anymore. This was interference with essential medical support. And that changes everything. The response came quickly. Inspections were carried out. Access logs were reviewed. And it didn't take long to identify exactly who had interacted with the system. Karen, who had been so confident in her authority, suddenly found herself in a very different position. Questions were asked, serious ones. The kind that don't leave room for excuses. The AOA, which had backed her concerns before, shifted immediately. Statements were issued. Responsibilities clarified. And Karen? She wasn't the one pointing out violations anymore, she was answering for them. The power was restored permanently, with additional safeguards put in place to prevent unauthorized access. But more importantly, a message went out across the neighborhood. Not just about usage, but about boundaries. About understanding before acting. About the real-world impact of decisions made without care. Karen disappeared from the conversation after that. No more emails. No more warnings. Just silence. A few days later, I stood in the garage again, listening to that familiar, steady hum return. It was a small sound, but it meant everything. Stability, safety, normalcy. My brother sat nearby, calm, comfortable, exactly where he needed to be. And as I stood there, I realized something important. Karen thought she was cutting off excess, but what she actually did was interfere with something essential. And when you cross that line, when you act without understanding the consequences, it doesn't just backfire. It changes everything.